everybody. Just doing the usual find link, share link, do the stuff that I could have somebody else do if they knew how to do it and I trusted them to do it. But I don't, so I can't, so I am. Make sense of that one. Copy link. Pop over here. See about... ah, fuck. God, why am I such a boomer? Today's going to be fun. We're going to talk about treason and cuts and putting presidents on money. Items to talk treason, that's attention grabbing. Story, groups, kingdom, that one. And we'll drop it. We'll drop it there. Kick a beehive twice on my way in. Alright. Well, let's just cut straight to the chase. Ain't got any patience for dealing with that foreplay stuff or getting her warmed up. We're going in cold. Oh shit. Forgot to... okay. Mea culpa. That was a dumb little hiccup. Anyway, talking treason, we're kicking it right off with this story. Tulsi Gabbard responds to... oh, hold up one sec. Hey, fucking get it together, Kyle. What the fuck is wrong with you? Tulsi Gabbard responds to CIA agents threatening to sell secrets to enemies. She addressed Tuesday on Fox News the alarming reports of CIA agents contemplating the sale of state secrets to foreign adversaries. The hypocrisy is palpable. It is... oh... hala! Please! These fucking idiots. Okay. I'm gonna skip their little plea there. Oh, I didn't look at the article because it's on the reader. Love it. Nothing is going right now, but that's okay. We gonna get through it. U.S. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, man, it feels nice to say that, back in 2020 when she was trying to destroy the Dems for being retards. Appeared on Fox News Tuesday to discuss reports of CIA agents contemplating the sale of secrets to foreign adversaries. If you thought the classified documents were an issue when Trump had them at Mar-a-Lago, this one should really get your knickers in a twist. Gabbard's remarks come in response to speculations that disgruntled agents, unhappy with the Department of Government Efficiency, might engage in espionage as a form of protest. I just want that to sink in for a second. They are mad that the government is finding ways to save the taxpayer money, and instead of just, you know, being reasonable about the damn thing, they're saying, you know what would really show them is if we instead decided to take those secrets that we've been trusted with and have security clearances that we were just bitching about Elon Musk maybe or maybe not having. We're pretty sure he does. Government contracts and all. We're going to take those secrets clearances we got and we're going to use them to give information to the Chinese and the Russians. That'll show them I'll commit a treason to own the Republicans. Like, adios mio, Jesus, tap dancing Christ on a fucking potato chip. Why? Why can't you just be normal? During an appearance on the Jesse Watters primetime, Gabbard criticized certain elements within the CIA, accusing them of leveraging media connections to indirectly threaten national security. I'm curious how they think this is a good tactic to keep their job. They're exposing themselves essentially by making this indirect threat using their propaganda arm through CNN that they've used over and over and over again to reveal their hand that their loyalty is not at all to America. Gabbard said that these actions betray not only the trust of the American people, but also the foundational principles of the Constitution and also the law against treason. It is not the American people or the Constitution, it is to themselves and these are exactly the kind of people we need to root out and get rid of so that the patriots who do work in this area, who are committed to the core mission, can actually focus on that. She said there are significant byproducts of addressing this issue head-on. Increased transparency and accountability have led to more insiders coming forward. I got to tell you that one of the byproducts of what I just saw literally today is because of this immediate action of transparency and accountability. I have people within the intelligence community reaching out to me personally and directly saying, hey, you need to know about this. You need to look over here. People are stepping forward because they are all on board with the mission to clean house and refocus on our core mission of serving the American people. I want to really just hammer home how I don't even have a word for this, but the agency, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, the spies of spies that ever spied for the Americans, are saying, we don't like that Orange Man won, so we're going to take classified information and give it to America's adversaries. That will not only show them, but that will certainly, absolutely have us keeping our jobs. No, that'll have you losing your fucking heads, you retards. You could get people killed. That's what you said about Edward Snowden when he leaked, right? Was that he was going to keep people killed? That's what you said about Bradley Manning, Chelsea Manning. I don't know how to describe the actions of somebody who's a different person now than they were when they did something. I don't want to blame the new them for the old them. Anyway, point being, we've heard this time and time again. You're going to put lives at risk. Security clearances are important. Rabble, 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 rabble. Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago documents, rabble, rabble. You are so consumed by ideological fervor and zealotry that you cannot see how facially, patently obvious it is to anybody, even just in a passing attention, can see through it. The CIA is reportedly considering its largest firing of officers in nearly half a century, targeting officers who handled diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. Details on the exact number of personnel affected remain uncertain. These are not mission-critical people. These are not the glamorous, glitzy individuals that actually put their lives on the line and go do shit that would make people's skin crawl. These are HR, paper-pushing bureaucrats that are more concerned with whether or not we respect the preferred pronouns of people who want us dead than protecting the Constitution which they swore an oath to. These are people that have no moral grounding and will just conjure outrage from the aether and use whatever thinly veiled justification they can to try to get people to take their side on it. It is just, if the stakes weren't what they are, it would be the funniest shit to watch happen, I think, ever. The fact that the stakes are what they are, and they're talking about you could scuttle fucking negotiations for peace with Russia. You could cause a chain reaction that leads to the invasion of Taiwan in a way that gives China the upper hand. But the problem is that time and time again, these people are not focused on the second order, third order, and so on effects of their actions. They are concerned with whether or not the optics of the moment reflect them as virtuous in the portrayal of events as they've presented and tailored and shaded them. These people are insane. I would like to thank Ronald Reagan for getting rid of the asylum system in this country and leading to the cause of all of this, because if we still had asylums and places to stick the crazy people when they were being crazy, none of these people would have jobs. These people would all be locked up in asylums if we still had them. This is quite literally the meme that boomers love to fucking say so much of. The inmates are running the asylum now. And it's so true. And yes, I understand that Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon that was convicted of a felony that was actually a misdemeanor past the statute of limitations, but because they tied it to hiding a secondary crime, that it was somehow a felony, even though he hadn't been charged with, convicted of, or even accused of a specific crime, and the jury didn't have to... All of that notwithstanding, who the fuck cares about paper-pushing bullshit, procedural crimes of somebody who has been on the receiving end of a witch hunt for the better part of a decade, when these people are actively threatening to leak protected information to adversarial nations because they're being fired for not providing anything. And even more so, really and truly, it's not even that, they haven't even been terminated yet or given notice. They're threatening to do that over the fact that we're going to conduct investigations and audits. Get a grip. 1977, CIA Director Stansfield Turner dismissed 198 clandestine service officers, marking a significant reduction. Recently, in compliance with Trump's DEI directive, the CIA has also dismantled several DEI focus groups, the agency confirmed to the caller. Earlier this month, the CIA introduced a severance offer to all of its employees, and if you didn't take it, you're a fucking idiot, marking it as the first intelligence agency to propose such an exit strategy. According to the Trump administration officials, this offer, consisting of approximately 8 months of salary and benefits, is intended to facilitate the departure of those who may oppose the current administration's policies. He's even saying, we will pay you almost 75% of your yearly salary? We'll pay you? Give you your benefits? You don't have to work? We'll pay you for 8 months? Just get the fuck out? Are you kidding me? What more do you want? And see, that's what it is you have to ask the question of what it is they hope or stand to gain by doing what it is they do. When they stand to gain nothing by doing what it is that they do, then you have to step outside of your perspective of trying to rationalize this as a reasonable person who sees the downstream consequences of it and say, what does this get them in the immediate? You have to think like the children that these people are. Because that is what they are. They are acting like petulant, spoiled children who have never been told no, who have never been taught to learn graciously, who have never been taught to carry an open enough mind to recognize that people you disagree with can be right. Hitler drank water and liked dogs, okay? Even the personification of evil, as we have culturally come to accept it, had traits that were not inherently evil. That doesn't make him a good person. That just means that a broken clock is right twice a day. And these motherfuckers are acting like that's some kind of revelation that is so shattering to the reality that they have constructed that to acknowledge it would be their undoing and leave them a drooling pile of sniveling mess. I wanted to say something nice in all of this about these people, but given the fact that they are willing to go to such extremes over such a non-issue in the first place, and the entirety of this issue resolves down to something akin to a child in a Target being told, no, you can't have that, little Timmy, we don't have the money for it, or you've been bad, or you didn't do your homework, whatever the fuck the justification is. This is akin to that child not just hauling off and having a conniption fit in the middle of a public place. This is that child climbing his mother who told him no and ripping off her face like a crazed chimpanzee. That is what the CIA had, that these agents in the CIA have become. And I'm not gonna do the boomer thing of oh, and if you're watching, come and fucking give... No, first off, let's kid myself, nobody watches this. Secondly, well, not yet anyway. If I ever run for public office, all of this will come back out and it'll be fun. Oh my god, I would love it. Makes me want to run for office just to do it. But anyway, that's enough of that one. Next. Trump to impose 25% tariffs on the European Union. Says it was formed to screw the United States. Where's the lie? President Donald Trump said he has decided to hit the European Union with 25% tariffs, saying the European Union was formed to screw the United States. We have made a decision and will be announcing it very soon, Trump said during a cabinet meeting Wednesday. Trump said the tariffs would apply to all things, but mentioned car imports specifically. They've really oh man, dude, the BMW owners are going to be pissed. Now where are they going to get their cars that have asshole mode? I don't know, BMW drivers still suck. I haven't driven in a while. I don't get out much, hence the pasty whiteness. They've really taken advantage of us. They don't accept our cars. They don't accept, essentially, our farm products. And we accept everything of them, including their bullshit. Let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it. I'm proud of them. Almost as good as I'm going to screw them. But they don't know I'm going to fuck them in the ass and wipe my dick on the curtains. Fuck you. The European Union's predecessor organizations were launched in the wake of World War II to ensure peaceful cooperation on the continent. Their gradual economic integration has included the development of a widely shared currency, the euro, and free movement across many national borders. I would like to point out that as part of the Marshall Plan, the United States was heavily involved in the rebuilding of all of Europe, and the thank you that we typically get is asked about possible retaliatory taxes by the EU, which now consists of 27 member countries. Trump said simply, they can try, but they can't. Trump has delayed a 25% tariff he was set to impose on imports from Canada and Mexico. Trump said Wednesday that the tariffs would go into effect April 2nd. He also imposed a 10% tariff on Chinese imports. All three countries have vowed retaliatory tariffs. The U.S. goods trade deficit with the European Union was $235.6 billion in 2024, a 13% increase of $26.9 billion over 2023, according to the U.S. Trade Representative. That's nuts. That means the European Union is sending nearly a quarter of $1 trillion worth more of goods, or they're profiting $250 billion off of our lax trade policies with them, and the thank you that we get is trying to drag us into war with Russia, or pressure us into war with Russia by supporting Ukraine, because we have subsidized their defense spending for the better part of a century, and then they want to look down their noses at us and scoff as if we're some uncultured swine because we don't have socialized medicine, we don't have free post-secondary education for everybody in the country, we don't have this, we don't have that, you Americans are so backwards, you spend all this money on war and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yes, we do, because you don't. I'm going to say the next part. This is I'm prefacing this, but I'm going to say it because it makes the point very clear. But I do not actually believe this. But I can see how many people believe the wrong side won World War II. Because if we hadn't intervened, and also if Russia hadn't intervened, like, let's not forget the Ruskies that actually did the bulk of the work in Europe for destroying the Austrian painter man. Russia did a lot of that heavy lifting, and they get very little recognition and respect for it. I'm not a Putin sycophant, but at the same time, I can acknowledge the good in my adversary and respect it as honorable. But Russia and the United States, or I guess at the time it was USSR and the United States, are the reason that the French are mostly Pakistani and Somali. The United States and Russia are the reason the Eurozone exists in the first place, and that Germany, 70 years after World War II, finally conquered Europe through economic means rather than martial means. The United States and Russia are largely why you motherfuckers can sit there and criticize us, because you don't know the amount of work that went into saving your bitch asses that could not provide a defense for yourself from a country that has been suffering the worst economic conditions that the modern world at the time had seen, after getting their asses kicked in World War II and then getting their nuts snipped off by the Treaty of Versailles. For all of his faults, Mustache Man took a nation that was economically not just crippled, he took a country that was basically the national equivalent of Terry Schiavo and managed to turn it into fucking Steve Rogers and almost conquered all of Europe in the span of 10 years. He had evil motivations. He was an evil person. He had evil means. Abso-fucking-lutely. He should not have done it. But I cannot deny how effective that man was as a leader. He was not, I would not use the word good, because there's nothing good about him, but he was incredibly effective at doing what he did, right up until he invaded fucking Russia in the middle of winter. Like, must have been doing some real good shit and also advanced syphilis, and just, you know, somebody had to finally knock him down. But, goddamn, Europe, know your fucking place, have some fucking respect, and if you don't want to have subsidized defense and, you know, take it all upon yourselves and burn that bridge, be my fucking guest. And whoever rolls in and makes you their bitch, when, you know, you go find out the grass ain't greener. That's what I'm going to say on that. The Tax Foundation, a think tank based in Washington, D.C., estimates that the imposed tariffs on China would reduce long-run GDP by 0.1% and the proposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico by 0.3%. But, okay. How much did the fucking lockdowns reduce our GDP by? I wonder. Without taking into account retaliatory taxes by the countries. The thing about these is that they can go ahead and institute those, but if we start producing more domestically and they still keep up their consumption, then we have more jobs, more tax revenue, if we're still taxing income at that point. We have more trade revenue coming in through more tariffs. And, okay, you're going to tax our stuff in your stores. You're still buying it. And now we make a lot more, and we don't have to worry about not being able to produce basic fucking things if another fucking global pandemic hits us. I'm not seeing where anybody... I'm not seeing how this is how there's any refutation of Donald Trump in any of this. Economists say the sudden increase in costs for imported products could ignite inflation, which Trump campaigned on eliminating. These are the same economists, I'd like to remind you, that told you everything was hunky-dory under Joe Biden and not to worry, that all of the inflation under Joe Biden was actually there when he got into office, and Joe Biden is the greatest president ever and never did anything wrong and never touched those kids or sniffed them or had them pet his hairy legs when he was fighting Corn Pop with a blade. Like, economists say, trust the science. Unqualified. You disqualify yourselves through your actions and through your track record. The reason people don't believe what these experts say anymore isn't because of what the experts are saying. It's because the experts are full of shit and continue to just pop off with whatever the fuck it is that they think will get them out of trouble in the short term with zero. Again, no long-term thinking here. These motherfuckers are, how do I feel better in this moment right now and on the right? And that's it. That's where it stops. No further thought. My view is it would mean a real shock to the American economy, said Gary Huffbauer, an economist and senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Quite a bit of inflation. How much? How would it be a real shock? Be specific, sir. Because otherwise it's just words. You're not showing any logic. You're not demonstrating any cause and effect, any historical data, any previous example. You're not even trying clever word games or trying to mask it in the terminology you use. You're just saying, I'm an economist, trust me. Mitch McConnell called Trump's tariffs a bad policy, and he also voted against Kash Patel, so Mitch McConnell voted for Kash Patel, that's right. I think he voted against... I don't know. I'd have to double check. But fuck Turtle Man. Retire already. During the last Trump administration, retaliatory tariffs from trade partners set off a border trade war that hit wide swaths of the American industry, from agriculture to manufacturing to aerospace, motor vehicles, and distilled spirits. He wrote, broad-based tariffs could have long-term consequences right in our backyard. Again, you say that they did, and then list off a bunch of industries, but no specific data, no specific numbers, no specific anything. And I think that's because largely when you actually examine it, oh, it raised the price of imported tequila by what something people were still willing to pay. It generated a fuck ton of money that reduced the tax burden on the taxpayer and the American people and funded things in a much better way. And so their own arguments generally defeat them rather than support them if you can actually break the conditioning. Breaking the conditioning! No more gay frogs. More cuts! Just fucking have a knife right now. Afuera! Trump administration tells federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs in a memo. This is a very short one. Almost as short as I am full mast. It's the motion of the ocean. Get over it. The Trump administration told federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs of workers, according to a memo from Budget Director Russell Vought and Acting OPM Director Charles Ezell. The memo obtained by Just the News informs heads of federal agencies that they have to submit the first phase of plans reorganization plans. Just the News. I need a job, and I can read English and proofread. I don't need much. I think about 4 racks a year. I am a simple man of simple tastes. But they have until March 13th to figure out their shit, and oh man, it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Anyway, next. Just in. More cuts. But what are the cuts to here? House passes Trump-backed budget proposal 217 to 215. Massey votes no. And I can guarantee you that is being used to try to say, oh, there's a fracture in the Republican Party. The Democrats are winning. Trump's power is slipping. We've got him this time. Massey is a principled man, and if I had to guess as to why he voted no, probably has something to do with the fact that the bill is either a continuing resolution, it is an omnibus bill, or it's got something stuffed in it somewhere that he actually read it and objected to that and voted no on principle to call attention to it, as he has a track record of doing. And so I don't care. I genuinely don't care. It passed. That's all that matters. It would be nice to see us get away from continuing resolutions and go to passing a budget yearly rather than we're just going to fund at the same rate that we did before and pass it, or else we're going to have a government shutdown and lobby. Don't mind the pork we snuck in here, which is what Doge is clearing out. Anyway, in a closely contested vote, House Republicans have passed a pivotal spending bill, signaling potential shifts in fiscal policy. The implication of this decision warrant careful examination. The implications of this decision, yeah, that is correct, warrant careful examination. House of Representatives passed the Republican spending bill in a 217 to 215 vote on Tuesday evening. Brett Massey was the only Republican to vote no on Trump's big, beautiful bill, which boasts $2 trillion in cuts. The budget package sets the stage for tax cuts, immigration reform. You know what those tax cuts are? Those are the no taxes on tips. Those are the no taxes on overtime. Those are the no taxes on Social Security. Potentially no taxes on income at some point. No taxes on property. No taxes, tariffs for everybody. I love it. Immigration reform, domestic energy expansion, and Pentagon funding. Speaker Johnson was confident ahead of Tuesday night's vote. There is no plan B, Johnson said. And that's probably because he believes in the sanctity of life and that life begins at ejaculation. And thinks that, yeah. I'm glad I was able to sneak an abortion joke in there. Not going to make any more jokes about that. Speaker Pro Tem Michael Simpson presided over the House on Tuesday evening as lawmakers voted on a budget package. You vote on my package. He said, "Honored to preside over the House today as we passed the budget resolution, laying the groundwork for one big, beautiful bill to enact Trump's full agenda, which is actually Agenda 2025. Congratulations, losers. We won. You're going to be a Christian theocracy. Hope you watch Handmaid's Tale, because that's exactly how it's going to be. Government-appointed girlfriends for all the MAGA guys. Yay. Keep mine. I don't want it. It's not fun when they're saying no, unless there's a safe word. But then the safe word becomes no, so it's a whole thing. From the AP, with a push from Donald Trump, House Republicans sent a GOP budget blueprint to passage Tuesday, a step toward delivering his big, beautiful bill with $4.5 trillion in tax breaks and $2 trillion in spending cuts, despite a wall of opposition from Democrats and discomfort among Republicans. So, House Speaker Mike Johnson had almost no votes to spare in his bare-bones GOP majority and was fighting on all fronts against Democrats, uneasy rank-and-file Republicans, and skeptical GOP senators to advance the party's signature legislative package. Donald Trump's really good about sneaking packages in, I hear. Until you actually read the articles on it, this is all bullshit, but Trump was making calls to wayward GOP lawmakers and had invited Republicans to the White House. The vote was 217 to 215, with all Democrats opposed, and the outcome was in jeopardy until the gavel. Following the budget proposal vote, Speaker Johnson declared victory in remarks to reporters. "We got it done." Now passing the budget resolution in the House, it will go to the Senate. This is the first important step. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, a lot of hard work yet to be done, but we're going to celebrate tonight. We'll roll up our sleeves and get back at it in the morning. So, yeah. Off to the Senate, which party line vote would be 53 to 47. Even if 3 Republicans defect over to the Democrat side, 50-50, J.D. Vance casts the tie-breaking vote. Game, set, match, go fuck yourselves. And finally, something that I know an oddly large amount about when it comes to the principles in play, because when I was a very small child, I was a numismatist, and I still have some of those tendencies, even though I've gone to conversion therapy to become a normal person when it comes to money. I still have a little bit of the Jew in me. Donald Trump to be put on $250 bill under a Republican proposal. Now, first off, I just want to say, in the United States, it would be, I think with the exception of like the dollar coins or whatever that were like a special run that had Barack Obama and some other living presidents on them, we do not generally put living people on our money. And so that is my first question here is, are nefarious interests trying to telegraph something that they're going to or about to do, and they're doing so this way because it's subtle, and anybody calling it out or pointing it out would be called tinfoil hat wearing retard, which I'm happy to be called because, let's face it, I'm a tinfoil hat wearing retard, even though I don't have a tinfoil hat on right now. But yes, a Republican lawmaker is pushing to feature Donald Trump on a newly created $250 bill. Why it matters. If approved, the proposal to put Donald Trump on a new $250 bill would be a historic first, making him the only living current or former president featured on U.S. currency. Under the legislation proposed by South Carolina Congressman Joe Wilson, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing would be directed to design a $250 bill with President Trump's face on it. Wilson cited Bidenflation as a reason for the move, claiming the economy now forces Americans to carry more cash. Most valuable bill for most valuable president, he added. Technically, it wouldn't be the most valuable bill. We had 500s for a good long time. We had thousands, I believe. There's several others, but they're very niche and not common at all. Um, Joe Wilson posted on Twitter, grateful to announce that I am drafting legislation to direct the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to design a $250 bill featuring Donald J. Trump. Bidenflation has destroyed the economy, forcing American families to carry more cash. The most valuable bill for the most valuable president. I have some thoughts that I want to finish the stream with, so I'll hold them for then. Bidenflation is a term coined by critics of former President Joe Biden to describe the... critics of, yeah. To describe the rise in inflation during his administration. Under his presidency, inflation peaked at 9.1% in mid-2022, the highest rate since the early 1980s. The White House at the time blamed global factors such as supply chain disruptions, the COVID-19 pandemic, which I'd like to remind you, the 19 there is for 2019, so 3 years out, and the war in Ukraine for the rise. However, critics pointed to Biden's policies such as increased government spending, energy regulations, and economic stimulus measures as a reason for consumers facing increased costs and for essentials like food, gas, and housing. Yes, when you print more money and give it to people for no reason, there is more buying in the market. When there is more buying of goods in the market, the consumers are saying, wait, did I get this right? No, backwards. It's not the supply and demand side. It's the people are less frugal with their money when they have more of it. And it's a weird psychology thing, too. It's like when you have a $100 bill, it's really, really hard to make that first purchase. But once you make that first purchase, regardless of... you get the change back, and then you spend a 20 here, 20 there, 20 there, 20 there, done, bye. But it takes a really long time to break that because you don't want to, because you see that it's $100 fucking dollars. It's got Ben Franklin looking at you. He's like, you could roll this into a fucking snooter, find some fucking cocaine, and snort it off of a stripper's cooter. And you'd be happy, and I'd be happy, and proud of you. Because Ben Franklin was a man whore that slept his way through the French aristocracy to get us favors to help us win the Revolutionary War. Gangsta. While inflation has gone down since 2022, hitting 3% in 2025, it still threatens to haunt the presidency of Donald Trump. He vowed during his campaign that inflation would vanish completely when he returned to the White House. I mean, he's done a good job, reduced it by 66%. Just saying. A Labor Department report in January found that consumer prices saw their largest increase in almost 18 months, with Americans facing rising costs across various goods and service. Other data indicates that U.S. households expect inflation to rise following Trump's February 1st announced tariffs of up to 25% on goods from Mexico and Canada, and a 10% tariff on Chinese imports. Which I feel like that one's just like completely, it's being mentioned everywhere, but nobody's really seizing on it. Previous analysis by Goldman Sachs estimated that tariffs would raise consumer inflation. Where'd it go? Zoomed in so I could read better with my badass eyes. Not badasses in they're like cool, but badasses in they're like terrible, like an ass. If it carried out, they would also hurt profit margins for U.S. companies while increasing the threat of retaliatory tariffs by other countries, the multinational investment bank and financial services company projected. Don't give a fuck by any measure of the phrase. Weren't you guys, like, pretty close or, like, involved in some way with the 2008 housing crisis? Again, the lunatic left in this country loves nothing more than to hurl insults at the right for being dumb yokels that don't listen to the wisdom of these learned experts who were cloistered in the ivory towers of academia and institutions the world over, as if to say there's any value to the opinions of these experts when these experts are wrong time and time and time again. But a dumbass motherfucker like me can sit in his mom's fucking garage in the middle of Arizona and pretty accurately call shit over and over and over. California wants to raise minimum wage. That's not a good idea, because if you do, a California burrito is going to go from $5 to $10. Gallon of gas is going to go from $4 to $6. And rents are going to go from $1,500 to $2,500. California raises minimum wage. Surprise Pikachu face win. Correct. And actually, I was on the low end of that. So, get fucked. In 2023, websites selling Trump bucks were taken down after an investigation revealed they were part of a scam targeting Republican supporters. Several Colorado-based companies falsely claimed the items, sold as coins, checks, and cards, would become valuable once Trump returned to power. Sophisticated ads, including AI-generated narration and fake celebrity endorsements, misled victims into investing thousands of dollars. That's wrong to do, but you can throw money at crypto scams all day long and nobody bats an eye. You can play around in the Wall Street casino and they'll be happy to take your money, and it's like, oh, well, you didn't know what you're buying. Get fucked. Online retailer ClickBank disabled the sales, stating the products were meant for commemorative purposes only but had been deceptively marketed elsewhere. Banknotes featuring Trump's face are still available to buy on websites such as Amazon, Etsy, and eBay. Fun fact, toilet paper with Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or Joe Biden's face on it is still available on Amazon. However, it cannot be used as legal tender. Says who? If somebody wants to take my Trump money, that's their right and my right. I'm not representing it to be legal tender. I'm representing it to be a Trump buck. Get fucked. In the U.S., only currency issued by the United States Department of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve is considered legal tender for debts, taxes, and purchases. Except when you try to pay with cash in a Walmart during the COVID pandemic and they say, no, you have to pay with card or check only. We're not taking cash. Only currency issued by. You were not just offering currency issued by, you were actually offering the currency issued by, not even like digitals. So, strike 5. Any private or novelty banknotes featuring Trump or any other figure were merely commemorative items or collectibles with no official monetary value. Representative Joe Wilson said on X, grateful to announce, and we've already read that one, what happens next? The bill has not yet been introduced to Congress, and a timeline for doing so has not been established. If legislation were to pass, a $250 bill would be the most valuable legal tender in the U.S. currency. Again, not true. Check this shit out. U.S. 1,000 bill. U.S. $1,000 bill. 1934. They exist. It is not currently printed. But it does not say current. It would be the most valuable legal tender period, is what it's making the claim of. And that is patently false. Newsweek, fact check, wrong, points that match. The bigger point that I was going to bring up is that prior to 1909, in the U.S., minted coins did not display the busts of our leaders. They displayed a personification of the concept of liberty, Our Lady Liberty, if you will. This is going all the way back to the 1700s with large cents, half cents, all that jazz. Seated Liberty dollars, 20-cent pieces. There were a handful here and there that didn't have any personage on it, but by and large, the penny did not. Large cents did. Flying Eagle Penny. Came after Flying Eagle Penny. Come on, brain, work. Do the Indian Penny. But V-nickels, the dimes, 20-cent pieces, quarters, half dimes, half dollars, dollars, all of them had Liberty on it. And so what's the Wu-Tang line? Cash rules everything around me. Your ruler is cash. Okay. So your money is your ruler. Now, if you have pictures of dead guys on your money, you're tying your rulership to the figurehead, the person leading the ship, but ultimately still a man, ultimately still fallible, ultimately a fiction as you know it because you do not experience that person. Prior to putting dead people on our money, our ruler, cash rules everything around me, our rulers in our hands, on our money, was an idea of liberty, of freedom, of self-determination, self-ownership. And there's something really powerful about having... It's not something that people would even, I think, consciously pick up on at all unless you're a weirdo autist like I am. Thank you. You're welcome. I do this for free out of the goodness of my own heart. You're welcome. But there's a lot of power in the subconscious association of your ownership being tied to an idea rather than a person. And when I was discussing this with my favorite sounding board for ideas, Grok or ChatGPT, I can't remember which one it was at this point, they had said something about the people being under the aegis of man versus an idea. And I thought the use of the word aegis was rather interesting as well, because an aegis, in the sense that GPT used it, was under the protection, guidance, control, governance. But an aegis is also a shield. And on many of the older coins, and some of the current ones, on the reverse of the coin, opposite of Lady Liberty, is a shield or a coat of arms representing the United States. And so the protection given to the person holding the coin comes from the power and might of the United States, and their allegiance is to the face on the coin, Our Lady Liberty. Where did we all go wrong? 1909, you get the Lincoln Penny. 1913, you get the Federal Reserve Act. 1916, you have the introduction of the Mercury dime. You have the introduction of the Buffalo nickel around there, which was a real person, but it was more tied to the, just like it was a stylized image of a native man. In Mercury dime, you then had the Standing Liberty quarter in when did that one come out? I don't remember. Walking Liberty half, and Morgan and Peace dollars. Morgan and Peace dollars still had Lady Liberty. Standing Liberty still had Liberty. Walking Liberty still had Liberty. But you had the addition of my favorite coin, the Mercury dime, which on the back of it is a fasces, which is very interesting. Really cool looking coin too. So if you were to take that one for the thing I'm spitballing here, is that your ruler is Hermes, Mercury, the god of messages, the planet Mercury. And you are protected by, on the back, the fasces, the bundle of sticks, bound and with a blade attached to it, from which the term fascist is derived, also from which the bundle of sticks word itself is derived. Funny. Because independently we are weak, together we are one, strong. And then, yes, that's that. I'm not going to say it because trying to be a little more approachable, and it's hard. It physically hurts. The point in all of this is that we only recently started putting dead presidents on money. 1909 was the penny. After the penny was 1932 with George Washington on the quarter. You had Franklin on the $50 pretty late. Roosevelt on the dime in 46. So these are all recent developments. And what happens to a nation when, again, it's not like people are waking up and like, oh, the face on my money changed. I guess I'm swearing allegiance to this dead person now instead of concepts of liberty. But you remove omnipresent visual cues that trigger subconsciously the concept of liberty and freedom. You remove that, replace it with controversial figures that are divisive and that, well, you know, we can mostly agree that the people on the currency were decent, at least. I personally fucking hate Roosevelt. I mean, our country loved him so much that the first thing that we did after he was out of office was put in term limits on the president. That one's coming back to bite us, because goddamn, I'd love to see Trump crowned king, but I digress on that one. Point is that you remove this constant reminder that you are a free people. You remove the reminder that you are a free people every time you conduct a transaction. And instead, you are putting... Again, this is all happening subconsciously. This is not something that you are actively thinking about as you're conducting this business, but it is being registered in your mind, and the associations are there. Is that every time you conduct a transaction now, you're saying, it's these people. It's my leaders that own me. It is my leaders that make this possible. It is not the unity represented by the fascists. It is not the protection represented by the eagle or the shield of the United States on the back. It is this guy and some torches. This guy and the Lincoln Memorial. Or actually, at the time, it was wheat. This guy and, well, Quarter's got the eagle. Not anymore. These states. And so it's very interesting just to see how things have progressed and how attitudes have changed. And all of these shifts did kind of occur around the same time. Obviously, the one and the way that people are less liberty inclined, more I guess the best word would be like feudal curious? I don't know. But they're tying themselves to the leaders rather than the ideas, and I think that that's a problem, though I have zero... I am not a psychologist, I am not a psychometrist, or well, I am a numismatist, but I'm not a historian or any of this shit. But I think these are interesting dots to maybe not draw a line between, but certainly to consider in how they relate to one another. But that's just my opinion. What do I know? I'm a dude sitting in the middle of his mom's garage in the middle of the desert talking to nobody on the internet and living on a hope and a prayer that I can either find a job or I manage to slip past whatever forces are blocking my stupidity and retardation from getting out to the general public. If I ever go viral and get any kind of following at all, God help the established order, because I'm not powerful. I'm a dude. But my goal in life isn't to convince anybody of anything other than to think for themselves and to carry themselves with the objective of learning, of giving ideas, even if they sound stupid, their space. But most of all, having fun with it and enjoying it for the unique experience that it is. And on that happy, positive note, after all that bullshit news, I'm out. Might be back to play video games. Might not. I don't know. I've said that the last few of these, but never did. So we'll see. I don't know. Bye.